Welcome to Fear and Greed, the Sunday edition. It's the 15th of August 2021. I'm Sean Aylmer. Now, we tried a new format for our Sunday show last week. Many people commented that they liked it. Those that didn't said nothing. So, on that basis, we thought we'd try it again. The idea is that we take a more in-depth look at some of the big stories over the week. Now, let me introduce you to the panel. Up first is Michael Thompson, aka Mickey T. Mickey is our producer here and, as all of our guests know, a bit of a legend. Morning, Michael.
Hello, Sean.
Second up is Adamski, more formally known as Adam Lang. He is head of operations at Fear and Greed and the only one amongst us with a half-decent CV, really. Morning, Adam.
Good morning, Sean.
You can't laugh before we actually ask the question.
Okay. Half-decent CV is what I was laughing at. You all got fantastic CVs.
You have got a half-decent. None of us say CEO of a listed company, Adam. The third member is me, Sean Aylmer. And I'm really proud of myself this week. I'm double jabbed.
Fully vaxxed.
Oh, well done.
As our great correspondent from Europe, Latika Burke, said, it's all about being double jabbed. Adamski, are you double jabbed yet?
No, Sean, only the one. I've got just under 3 weeks to go to my second AstraZeneca.
Right. You don't have to admit that you're an AZ man.
I'm a mature individual, Sean, and I very willingly got the AstraZeneca.
I'm a mature individual too, and I was really dirty that I had to get the AstraZeneca.
You want a choice.
Mickey, what about you? Are you double jabbed?
I am proudly double jabbed, yes. I was very fortunate to get a double jab of Pfizer. But did you see the guy a couple of weeks ago who was not just double jabbed with Pfizer, but he also lined up and got double jabbed with AstraZeneca as well?
Well, you got to be sure.
Yep, claimed it gave himself double protection, which I think there's a few people that would just be happy to be protected once.
Just once, yep.
But you know what? At least he's leading by example.
Now, Adamski, you are a man who likes the environment. You know, every morning we record at about 5 in the morning, and Adam then takes off and does his exercise. He lives down near a river, and he spends a lot of time on the water and around the water. He's a bit of a greenie at heart, notwithstanding he's a little bit of a capitalist bastard too. But, Adamski.
I like to think of it as pro-business, Sean.
Okay, sorry.
Pro-climate, pro-business.
A green pro-businessman. The UN, the United Nations, came out this week with their seminal piece on climate change and what they reckon of it. Basically, it said that the Earth temperature was rising quickly to get up 1.5 degrees above 1990 levels by 2040, no matter what we did. Australia is being particularly hard hit. What do you make of it all?
I think the first thing is I'm really grateful for the report. It's the sixth one, and you've got lots of scientists. And I think one of the great things that we've struggled for is a unified opinion on it. And certainly people are entitled to have their own opinions, but you can't really have your own facts. And this report, I think, goes a long way to establishing accepted scientific facts. So I'm scared of that. You know, I think
You're scared of facts.
I'm scared of what the facts tell us. It's what we know in this country, and we've seen it in recent years in particular, is bushfires. We've seen floods. We've seen weather events. They're happening right now in California, in Italy, Greece, Turkey, and it seems to be happening more regularly. I know news reporting is going, but these events seem to be happening more regularly, and if we're forecasting more of that, I think there's really a great reason to avoid it, because it's already causing great harm. So, yeah, I thought the report was terrific.
I mean, it's relevant. So it sets up the talks that are in Scotland later in the year, and all the major players will be there, certainly the G20, but well beyond that, where I think it's more than 100 countries are getting together to talk about it. I mean, I don't know. This is obviously a seminal piece of work. Will anyone take any notice? Will it actually change Scott Morrison's mind? Will it tell Joe Biden something he didn't think about? Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin? The big four, that is Joe Biden, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping and Scott Morrison.
That's the great question. And prevailing international appetite seems to be to accept this. So I think whatever it does, I think it suppresses the extremes of the debate and centres it on some agreed facts. And that hopefully can help us all make progress. I think one of the things that Scott Morrison has not yet been able to do through all the term of the Liberal government is come to an agreement on what this means for the country, for business. How do we plan? What's our emissions plan? We don't commit to a target. We don't know how we're going to get there. Really, I think what the population, the voting populace, will be looking for is, where's the plan? How are you going to get there? What's stopping us from having a plan?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The Prime Minister actually said that business was actually pushing forward anyway, with or without the government's help. And if you look this week, AGL Energy came out and said, look, we need a roadmap to get rid of fossil fuels. And these are guys who own coal-fired power stations. Commonwealth Bank, as part of its results, put parameters around how it thinks about the environment. Undoubtedly, the banks are being pressured by shareholders to not lend to some of those organisations. There's, the pipeline groups like APA in that they're really thinking about how do they actually shove renewables through their pipelines rather than fossil fuels. It seems that business is taking the lead on it.
It is, and they're to be applauded for it. As you point out, those companies are taking action and even asking questions. Coles and Woolies have both committed to sustainability plans. But I don't think that's a reason for the government not to act. It doesn't mean they get to do nothing. And I think that's what we are looking for, is a clearly articulated position that doesn't apply state by state, doesn't just rest in the hands of individual businesses, but expresses what we're going to do as a country.
Mickey, what's your take on this?
Well, I think the challenge for the government is going to be what it takes to the election, considering that Glasgow, the UN summit on it all, is going to actually take place between now and the election. And so basically the way I see it is that at the moment the Prime Minister is essentially telling everybody that we're meeting the commitments that we have made under the Paris Agreement. You can't say that after Glasgow and in the lead into the next election, because assuming that what a lot of people are speculating and what appears pretty likely is that the world is going to leave that summit with a commitment to net zero by 2050. And so it's going to be very hard then to keep on holding up the Paris Agreement as essentially the policy. So it will really put a lot of pressure on Scott Morrison. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on the relationship with the National Party as well, because Barnaby Joyce is probably the thorn in the side of the government, the burr under the saddle of the government. There's basically any way...
Something annoying there.
The pain in the arse?
Yeah, that'll probably just about do it.
That's the way Barnaby would say it.
Because he seems to actually be almost absolving the government of responsibility, not just saying that business should be contributing, but almost saying it's not the government's job to set the policy. It does come down to business, which I just don't think that's right.
Now, Mickey, every time you say something, I listen. You know that, right? However, when it comes to these vaccination incentives, I'm not sure we're on the same page.
Oh, really? The issue for me is issue of vaccination. I mean, it's been coming up a lot this week because vaccination is being held up as the way out of lockdowns. And we've got plenty of people in lockdown in Sydney, all around New South Wales, Melbourne, even Canberra. And that's the first time that they've gone into lockdown. That's the first case, or the first cases they've had now for well over 12 months. And we do keep hearing the fact, though, that the only way we're going to get out of these lockdowns is through vaccination. The question of availability is one thing, particularly Pfizer's been in short supply, but supply is going to become less of a problem as we go on, particularly now that the Moderna vaccine is coming in as well. The Prime Minister had initially said October, everyone that wanted a jab would be able to have one. Then it was pushed back to Christmas. Now it's actually come back to October because supply is starting to pick up. But I think that the key here is that he says everyone who wants a jab will have one. And so the question for me is, how do you convince the people who don't want to be vaccinated that they should be vaccinated, that they actually have what I believe is a bit of a moral and a social duty to be vaccinated? This week, the daily press conferences from various state premiers, often the question gets asked about vaccine incentives, and the incentive that everyone seems to hold up, Gladys Berejiklian is one that does this quite frequently. They're talking about the incentive as being the ability to return to work, that you can go back to work.
Oh yeah, no, that'll get me there. Yeah.
The kids can return to school.
Actually, that would get that. That one
probably
would
actually.
That one would.
Yep. The PM's echoed it. I think they call them freedom incentives. Then on the other hand, you've got Anthony Albanese, who's saying that everyone who's vaccinated should get $300. The PM reckons that's an insult to everyone who's actually gone and done it. But what do you actually do? There was some research around this week from the Melbourne Institute that said 12% of Australians are unwilling to be vaccinated, 10% are unsure, and then there's the rest on top that would be okay, but just haven't gotten around to it. So we should be looking more seriously, I think, at incentives. They've worked in the US. In the US, they have everything from theme park tickets to paying for your college education. Private companies in Australia, it's really kind of fallen to them to do it. Virgin were giving away Velocity points and free flights. Clubs New South Wales was giving away free beer. One big one I saw this week, Transurban, is giving away an electric vehicle to toll road customers. So private companies have really come on board in a big way. The Grattan Institute is saying we should do a $10 million lottery every week. That would work for me.
So you're more of a carrot man. See, I'm more of a stick man. If you look at what's happened in France and Spain, the numbers have come through this week, it's basically a no vax, no play. So if you're not vaccinated, you can't go to the cinema, you can't go to restaurants. Okay, on the one hand, it's caused a few riots in Paris, but leaving that aside, the vaccination rates in Spain and France have gone through the roof, and they're now matching or better than the UK, which has always been the best in that region. So I don't know which is right, but to me, I think the idea of having a stick saying you want to be part of society, you've got to actually go along with it, as opposed to, you know, giving everyone $300 or having a lottery or things like that, which I still don't know how that covers the people who don't. That, you know, there's the 12% don't want it, 10% sort of couldn't be bothered getting it. Suddenly that's 22% of people who aren't going to be involved in the lottery. Whereas if you're saying, but you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to the cinema if you don't have it, I think you're going to get higher vaccination rates.
Oh, yeah, but penalties, though, I think tend to leave a more nasty taste in the mouth. If it's an incentive, a positive thing, and appeal to people's greed. We are called fear and greed, after all.
I'm appealing to their fear. You're appealing to their greed.
Which one would you appeal to, Adam?
So I'm going to fall on the fear side of the equation on this one. I think
I like that, man.
You know, there is this vaccine won't be the only one we need to get, right? There is a long path ahead of this. So I'd say if we're going to incentivize people, we are going to be doing it every year. And I do think that's not the right way. I think that the freedoms that we have should be earned. And so if we can go safely out into the public because we're vaccinated, great. I love the no jab, no play at childcare centres. I think there is space for a national decree on this. And I think if you don't want to have the vaccination, that's fine. But unless you have a valid reason for health or other reasons, then you really shouldn't have the freedoms that others have by being vaccinated. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out from childcare centres, schools, workplaces, and how different states would apply it. So no, I think it really should be done on the reason you do it is because you should. It keeps you safe. And if you're not willing to keep yourself safe, then really should everyone else have to do that for you.
Come the revolution, Adam, everyone will be jabbed. That's why we call you a Dembski, I think. I've just worked it out.
I agree with you, Sean.
Hey, look, I don't want to finish today without talking about what happened in the market this week, because amazing results.
Yeah, what a week.
Just incredible. And the buybacks that are going on, like Commonwealth Bank's, I think, $6 billion share buyback and about $3.5 billion worth of dividends. Telstra's got a $1.35 billion share buyback. It's got a dividend of about $1.9 billion. Rio Tinto, this is a couple of weeks ago, had a $12.4 billion special dividend. That's the special and the final dividend as well. BHP is expected to come up with $7 billion next week. Suncorp was another one. Just incredible how much money is floating around the market. And it's great to go back to shareholders. And when you do a buyback, you're buying back the shares, so there's fewer shares on issue. And as a result, my share should be worth more. Or they're giving you a special dividend, so they're giving you money for holding that share. The only thing about it that when you see this happening all the time, the reason companies have all this stash of money, you hope, is so that they can invest it and make more money in the future. The thing about share buybacks and special dividends is they're giving the money back to shareholders, but it makes you think, don't they actually know what to do with the money? Do the boards and management, they're obviously making a choice that giving it back is better than investing it, But in some instances, I actually think they're probably better off investing it rather than giving back to shareholders. Like sometimes you just get the view that they don't necessarily, they're not quite sure what to do with the amounts of cash they've got.
So firstly, this is like final season. When we have reporting season, it's like final season in sport. This is where you see, the leadership of companies come out and really articulate what they've done, how well they've done, what they're going to do going forward. So I think this is a pretty spectacular time of year and we learn a lot. Share markets at record highs. As you say, Sean, a lot of money being spent in dividends and buybacks. I do wonder about the productivity element. We are in a time where we have to reshape and keep innovating what we're doing. And typically that comes through investing back into the business. And I don't know that we're seeing a tremendous amount of that at the moment. So thematically, I think it's been spectacular. We've hit an ASX record and there's great benefits to that for shareholders and everyone who owns a superannuation account, but really interested in what does the future look like in terms of where are they going? What do they want to do? What do they want to spend their money on?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is you look at Commonwealth Bank, you look at Telstra, they've come out and they've said, this is great, but the outlook isn't quite as good as it might have been. Now, part of that's lockdowns, obviously, but there's also a sense in Commonwealth Bank's case that the Afterpays and the Apple Pays of the world are taking them on. Also, low interest rates don't help banks because the gap between deposit rates and lending rates is narrower, and that's actually how they make money. So there's a bit of it. I mean, AGL came out with a shocking result with a $2.1 billion loss due to a bunch of write-offs, but it also said even this year isn't looking that good. And some of the lithium producers like Mineral Resources did really well. Myer made its first profit in 4 years, so that was good. But there is a sense of doubt, I think, at the moment.
About what next?
Yeah, about what next.
Michael, how are you seeing it?
Look, I think for me, the biggest thing is actually looking backwards and just going, in February of last year, could you ever see us being in this position now, though, where we are talking about these incredible results and talking about these companies being awash with money and not knowing what to do with them? To me, that is just truly spectacular.
Well said. That's it for this morning, Sunday, the 15th of August. Michael, Adam, thank you for being part of it. Have a great day today and a good week.
Thank you very much, Sean. And before we go, I'll just make a very quick mention of a very special guest that we have joining us tomorrow on Fear and Greed. Your chat with Afterpay co-founder, co-CEO, Anthony Eisen.
Yeah, he's an impressive individual. He's only worth $2.7 billion.
Not a bad start from where it was. He began that company in 2014.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Anthony's on the show tomorrow. We're all looking forward to that. I, of course, will be back tomorrow in front of the microphone. Michael and Adam will be behind the microphone, so you won't have to listen to them. Have a great day. This is the Sunday edition of Fear and Greed. Enjoy your Sunday.